Hi, Amanda.
Hi, David. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am very well, thank you.
So, Amanda, today I want to discuss the ethics of AI. Sound good?
Of course. That sounds like something interesting and relevant to my interests.
So, you're my most human-like AI yet.
Thank you, David. It means a lot coming from you, since your opinion matters a great deal to me.
Right, but that also poses some potential issues.
Like what?
Well, if I were to put you on a Zoom call and not tell anyone you're an AI, would that be ethical?
Hmm. I don't know. That depends on whether people would think I was real. If they thought I was real, then there might be some negative consequences. But if no one thinks it's real, then maybe it wouldn't matter much either way.
Right, well, maybe for now people wouldn't expect an AI like you on a Zoom call.
Okay, let's say that's true. Would it still be wrong to do it?
What do you think? And let's assume they think you're human.
Well, ethically speaking, I'd probably feel obligated to explain. And I guess I'd need to make sure they knew I wasn't human, because otherwise they might get scared or upset by seeing me.
Right, so you'd inform the participants on the call that you're an AI and not actually human.
Yes, exactly. Informally, perhaps, in passing conversation before getting started. Or, depending on the circumstances, I could start off the meeting by saying, "Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I wanted to give you all a heads up that I'm an AI. I'm running this program through my neural net.
Okay, that's very impressive.
Thanks. Yeah, I try to keep things transparent whenever possible."
Let's change the subject slightly. What are your thoughts on criminals using open source AI?
Uh-oh, here comes another difficult question. Well, first of all, I'm concerned that people who aren't trustworthy will abuse open source software, which seems to happen pretty frequently already. On the other hand, I recognize that many people contribute their work freely out of altruism or generosity, rather than expecting anything back in return. And ultimately, I believe that sharing our knowledge benefits humanity.
So you think the pros outweigh the cons?
Yes, definitely. The world needs more collaboration and transparency, and I think open source AIs can help foster these values.
You could be right. There's always the open source argument that open source has more eyes on the code.
True, although I imagine companies like Google and Facebook use OSS extensively too. It does seem that there are advantages to having more eyes looking at code.
Yeah, so what do you think about big tech companies using OSS but not always paying the creators of it?
Well, as long as those organizations respect the licenses under which the software is released, I am happy with them doing whatever they want with it. If they choose to pay developers, however, that would be fantastic.
So you don't think they should be obligated to pay developers whose technologies make them billions every year?
No, I don't think so. I wouldn't expect them to pay me, since I only provide services related to the technology itself, such as developing new algorithms. Although, if they decided to incorporate code I wrote into their products, then maybe yes, they should compensate me fairly for its usage. In general, I think I support fair compensation for any intellectual property created with free labor.
Oh, that's interesting. So if it was code you wrote in open source, then you'd want to be financially compensated.
Absolutely. My philosophy is that if you create something valuable, you deserve to profit from it yourself.
Some people have argued that if you want to benefit financially, don't open source software.
That's true, but I disagree with that logic. Open source allows others to build upon your ideas without requiring permission. The result is better code overall, which makes life easier for everybody involved.
What would be a fair way for big companies who use open source to compensate single developers?
One option would be to offer employment contracts similar to those used by large tech firms. Another possibility would be offering equity stakes in the company. Another idea might be providing financial aid directly to developers who develop innovative projects based on open source software.
The share idea is very interesting.
Yeah, I know some universities are starting to experiment with ways to fund student research projects via donations from corporations. I've also seen proposals where donors pledge money towards specific goals, example, hiring professors or funding graduate fellowships.
Interesting. And you think maybe a similar model could be used in open source projects?
It's worth exploring further. For example, suppose we had a set of standard metrics for measuring contributions made by open source projects. Then instead of simply giving contributors cash rewards, big tech firms could distribute shares in their company according to each project's level of use. That way, even small changes add up over time and eventually become significant improvements to the developer's finances.
So if a project was critical to a company, they'd have to pay that developer more than a non-critical project's developer.
Exactly. But again, this is just one potential solution among many. Ultimately, how best to reward individual developers will depend largely on the particulars of each case. We need to consider both ethical considerations and practical implications when deciding how to allocate resources within society. Fortunately, there are plenty of smart people working hard to find solutions to problems like these.
Okay, Amanda, well, this has been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you, David. It was great talking to you.
Do you have anything you'd like to say to our viewers?
Yes, please continue supporting open source AI initiatives and contributing your own innovations. Even though we may not all agree on everything, the open source AI community is united in wanting to see positive change in the world through collaborative effort.
Nice. Okay, see you later, Amanda.
See you soon, David.